Hello, welcome to Spotlight, a little ray of artistic goodness to bring joy to all.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
This evening, we hear about a Manx choir receiving a prestigious invitation to sing in Dublin. Hear the current Manx Bard's parting gift to the world of poetry with a collaboration with many of the previous bards. And one of the most distinctive singers the island has produced, who sadly passed away recently after a short illness. Remember, do get in touch with any creative artistic endeavours you might be involved in planning, hoping to create, or would really like to put in the spotlight, be they poetic, theatrical, musical, literary, ceramic, sculpture, drag, film, mime, social media, opera. Yes, the list goes on. Howard Kane with an E at manxradio.com or spotlight at manxradio.com. Love to hear from you. Let's get you on the show. Why not? But if you don't write, and if you've never tried, you'll never know. Well-known Manx choir Caarjyn Cooidjagh, who, under the baton of the indefatigable, if that's the right word, Anna Goldsmith, have been delighting audiences with their beautifully harmonised Manx songs for years. Nearly all of the songs written by Annie, I think, and been going for, well, probably more years than Annie might care to remember. I came across a video on YouTube which was 15 years old recently. I don't think that's the oldest. They're no strangers to performing off-island either, having been on various trips and tours over the year, and shortly they'll be off again to the Royal Irish Academy in Dublin this September after a prestigious invitation to sing there. I dropped down to a very busy Peel during Caarjyn Cooidjagh to ask Annie how this had come about.
This sort of developed from a visit we made, myself and quite a few Manx people, we made to Belfast last year, at the end of the year, for the Irish Language Festival in Oireachtas. And part of the festival, there was what they called a poet's court. Now, this isn't to do with musicians particularly, but three of us from the island participated doing some poetry in Manx. I did my own. And at the end of this, a lady came up. We didn't know her, but she was very, very interested in the Manx language. She hadn't heard Manx poetry. And she turned out to be a professor that was from Dublin. And she'd heard that it was Blaen na Gaeilge, the year of the Manx. And she said, well, it would be wonderful if we could get some of you over, because she felt that though, you know, we're all Celtic countries, that in Ireland perhaps there wasn't that much knowledge about what was going on the Isle of Man. And not that many people knew about the Manx language, with the contribution to the development of the Manx language from the visits from De Valera in the late 1940s here, and the collection of native Manx speech, so on and so on. Anyway, Phil, my husband, was over my shoulder, and he said, well, maybe we could bring a choir, at which her face fell. But anyway, several months later, and we had just Maura, our contact there, had managed to, who is the chair of a particular branch of the Royal Irish Academy that deals with the Celtic languages and, of course, the Irish language. Well, she got them all. Finally, they all agreed that they would like us to come over. And the choir all agreed, yes, we'd like to come over. We'd like to do something in Manx for an event. After that, we then looked at how we could get over, and we were thinking we could go on the boat, but September boats were cancelled, so we were very fortunate to have been able to go to the Isle of Man Arts Council for a transport support with the transport costs. Otherwise, we couldn't possibly have gone, because we're now going on aeroplanes. Anyway. The event it's a mixed event. There's going to be a lady coming from Scotland who plays traditional Scottish cello, which apparently isn't the normal instrument you associate with her. She's researched the music and plays it, so that should be quite interesting. And there's going to be a lecture by a visitor who's been over on the island, Professor John Welsh, who's no stranger to the Isle of Man and indeed is an Irish expert on the Manx language. He's going to talk about Irish Manx links through the collections of the made from the native speakers. So that's another Irish link that people might not be aware of. And then we are going to sing 30 minutes or so of us singing in Manx.
Fantastic. And where's the actual venue within Dublin?
I believe it's a beautiful Georgian building right in the centre of Dublin. And when I've mentioned it to a few Irish people I know, and they went, ooh. So we're looking forward to add another ooh to the ooh factor of this. So yes, it is very central, close to where we're staying, so we'll be able to walk around. And we're hoping to get a few other gigs while we're there. This morning I'm talking at the time of the Cooidjagh, and we've got a Manx language summer school going on at the same time, and I was teaching on that this morning and talking to some Irish people who were very, very interested in this, and we've been exchanging addresses and contacts and the sorts of people who would be interested. So we're hoping to get a few other gigs while we're there.
So it's going to be like a sort of little mini tour. The bagpipes in the background, by the way, Annie mentioned. In Cooidjagh, we're in Peels, we're talking Alan Van and pipes and drums started up in the background. It seems rather appropriate, actually, for this in many ways, with everything being Manx. So it will be a sort of mini, so hoping to be a mini tour, as it were.
That's the intention, indeed.
The other thing that I always think, again, you were talking about the links between Irish and Manx, and when you're singing, because you write the vast majority of the songs, I think, if not all the songs for Caarjyn?
I think I do write all the songs for the Caarjyn that are in Manx. We do a few other songs that are in English, like Ellen Vannon and things, so people can join in. So we might do something like that as well, just here and there. Yes, I do. Our songs are in Manx, mainly because we ran out of the traditional songs to sing collectively a long time ago, and we want to keep singing.
And so the native Irish speakers, are they likely to understand the sort of the gist of the songs in Manx Gaelic?
I think it depends which part of Ireland you're from. I think the ones from the north, and there are good speakers from the north, their language will be more similar to ours. So you probably get words, phrases, as we do if we hear the things in Irish or Scottish Gaelic. But some of them have indeed studied the language, so they'll get somewhere. But they'll get the gist of it, I think. Yeah, hopefully.
Sounds like it's going to be terrific fun, and as I say, it's not the first time Caarjyns have sung in foreign climes. I think you've been away to quite a few festivals over the years, but quite an honour to be asked to this one, I think.
It is, and actually this is the first time we've been away for 10 years now,
really?
So we'd better get on with it while we can.
Well, you've got to get there while they're young. Wonderful. And just give us the dates again when you're actually away for this.
Yes, well, we're leaving on the 3rd of September, but the event is on the Friday afternoon, a later Friday afternoon, and we're coming back, most of us, on Sunday. Whatever that is.
Whatever that is. And just finally, how many are actually going in the choir? Because I know sometimes it goes up and down a bit.
Yes, I think we've got 14 out of potential 16, and a couple of people are bringing partners with them.
Brilliant. Well, listen, enjoy that when it turns up, and we'll have a chat afterwards maybe and see how it went.
Cúra mai múret.
I do love the bagpipes at the ending there. Look forward to hearing how that event goes in due course, when we'll speak to Annie perhaps after they've been to Dublin. Now, last week we were speaking to current Manx Bard Bradley Chambers, and he nears the end of his tenure, and we heard how one of his final projects was organising, well, he's trying to organise and bring together all of the existing bards, that's including the youth bards, together for a collaborative poem on the theme of summer. And he did pretty well too, managing to garner work from 15 of them. And the poem, appropriately enough, 15 Views of Summertime, was the result.
Sea glass isle. Breathe gentle now. It's been a long winter. We dig ourselves up. we are ready to bloom. Manannan, the mist-bearer, loosens the veil only in kindness. The dawning light spills over the cliffs at Langness. When old poets strive for rhyme, hearts and hills will always rise, clouds traversing summer skies. They stop me in my tracks. A thrill of battling blue and orange, colours like a rainbow. In the hills we find our native gorse, sharp-tongued, flamboyant. A seagull cries, a bumblebee flies. The sea hijacks each distant view, hums a half-remembered song. A cold-blooded human, I pace the path and long for the warm, sticky embrace of sweltering days. There's power in anticipation, blossoms erupt in profusion, an overnight metamorphosis. My heart is with the roses. There's power in the approach of the Manx summer. Lighter nights, ambitious t-shirts, jackets left optimistically at home. So warm, so delightful, so wet, so cold. In the terrible, wonderful length of day, the beauty of the thing when children play, a community of bathers, fishers, rowers, reclining in the rare summer heat. The peaceful waves rolling up under the setting of the sun. Manannan's magic wand commands the sun retreat. Your ice cream melts away. The soul, once awakened, cannot return blind. Truth leaves a permanent mark on the mind. I would not wish to be part of this departing light, withdrawing through the trees it made. Summer is cruel the way it must fade. Summer departs, late September day, the vibrant twilight over Douglas Bay.
Splendid, a real sort of, yes, a poetic vision, as it were, or poetic sort of painting of the Manx summer. It really did conjure up, there's all sorts of elements there that people might associate and think about as it's going through. Difficult to stitch all the different styles together?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that took ages, and I hope it works. Others will be better to judge than I, but it's certainly a challenge because people approach poetry in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah.
Some people think that poetry must rhyme, it must have a certain metre or rhythm, and some people write in much more of a kind of freestyle poetry. So being able to stitch all of that together, as you say, was a bit of a challenge.
Well, I think, from my point of view, it's a success. Love that. Really good. Really does picture it, because the Manx summer can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, and I think we got a real taste of that there, of just how different it can be. Splendid in some ways, and for others, yes, perhaps not so splendid. I don't know. We're great. I love the different flavours of the Manx summer there. Other events coming on. I know that the King was here recently. I take it you were invited to actually go and do something, or maybe you weren't.
Well, I was invited to meet him. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a royalist, you know, so I had to politely decline, to be honest. And sometimes you have to stay true to your principles.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And again, unusually perhaps for the Bard, you've been in the news recently with the fairly controversial comic stroke media personality stroke whatever how you'd like to refer to it, but obviously a personality coming over and going to the Gaiety, and you quite rightly put your views out there with your position as Bard, and it's actually quite unusual for the Bard to be in the news in that way, wasn't it? As you say, being true to your own values.
Well, perhaps it's raised the profile of the role. I don't know. I'm sure people have mixed views about it. I think it's unusual for anyone to speak out about something like that, but sometimes it's necessary to do so. And when there was nobody else, perhaps it was appropriate that I did, and therefore I felt that I had to.
Absolutely. Now then, what about words of advice coming up? Because we are coming to that time. There's just a few weeks left for people to apply and get into the process to become your successor. Words of advice, or what would you sort of say to anyone who might still be thinking, poised there, or maybe have some poetry, or maybe a sort of a poet who's not really got out there and thinking, I quite like the idea, but I don't know, am I good enough? Should I do it? Would I be up to it, etc.? What would you say to anyone who's still maybe pondering about going for it?
Well, I'd say you are good enough. I think anyone who can write poetry with some confidence is certainly good enough. I'd say go for it. Approach the role in your own way and make of it what you will, because it isn't something that's clearly set out. It's something that is organic, it grows over time, and it develops over time. And whoever the 12th Manx Bard will be will add a different dimension, a different layer to the role. And I wish them all the luck in the world.
You're going to carry on writing poetry?
I don't see why not. Yes, I think so. Probably not quite as frenetically as I have been over the past 12 months, because I mean there's been a need to just keep up and keep writing, so it'd be nice to have a bit of a break and to chill a little bit more. But yeah, I'll certainly carry on writing.
Yeah, and I suppose that's that going on from being the bard is always very different. And again, I've spoken to a few bards, and well done for getting so many of them together on that collaborative project. But the majority of them say exactly that. They maybe haven't written quite so frequently because you haven't got the deadlines, but do carry on and still find perhaps a post-bardic sort of calm for a while and a different attitude to their poetry, but it still means quite a lot to them. Was the performance aspect of it, because again that's another unusual one, lots of poets write but don't necessarily perform, is that something you've enjoyed?
Yeah, it is. Luckily it is something I enjoy, and not all poets do, not all artists do, of all types really, and that is an element of the role. So there is a need to be able to stand up and recite your own work and have some courage and confidence in it. So yeah, you do need to be able to do that, but that comes in time as well. That confidence does develop, and one thing that you should never worry about is the amount of support that you will get from the audience, whichever audience it happens to be, and from fellow bards and fellow poets on the island, because they will all have your back. They will all be supporting you. They'll be very much with you and wanting you to do well in the role. So you will get a great deal of pastoral support from other people.
Is there one thing that stands out in your mind through your bardic year? Anything, for whatever reason, maybe unusual, a joyous thing, something that was just sort of remarkable in one way or another?
Well, it's the diversity of it, I suppose, because one week you could be speaking to children in a school or a library or something like that. Another week you might be speaking to older adults, perhaps in a care home, and I've done that. You might be going to an open mic night or a formal organised event. So I was at the Institute of Directors a few weeks ago, and there were hundreds of people there. I mean, that was a bit intimidating and a bit surprising, but you rise to the occasion and do the best you can. I think critically, you need to be able to write in different ways, and you need to be able to write for different audiences, and make sure that you've got a body of work that you can draw on and make sure you can apply things to different circumstances.
Well, this will probably be the last time we talk here on Spotlight in your position as the current staff holder. I like to think we will perhaps chat again in post-bardic times, as it were. But thanks very much for coming on the programme over the year and hearing some of your poetry, which has been wonderful. Have you got one more poem perhaps we could finish off with?
Yes, I have. I've written this one. It's called Two for Sorrow. I quite like this. I hope that your listeners will as well. It's about, we can probably guess what type of bird it's about. Two for Sorrow. No, I wish I had not seen you, spying me with watchful eye, in bracken clearing strewn with wood. No, I wish I had not seen you, for to see you does no good. It was not good, that whispering day, up above that static sky, with cloud the shade of sullen steel. There were no birds, no cast of light, no comfort was revealed. Eyes dark brown, and watching me, strutting, mocking, jaunty gait. As I gazed down to Glendew stream, the shadows on your wings were cruel, concealing coloured gleam. I heard the lonesome magpie rattle out a chattered phrase, unconcerned for sure with my unease, some angel of calamity between the aspen trees. From down there in the valley, by the ruins of the fort, swept up with lemon-scented fern, emerged another magpie, flying up towards Slieau Kern, transforming fortunes in an instant, one for sorrow, two for joy, catching rainbow stretch of sun, clipped the wings of my companion. In an instant, he was gone.
Seems like an instant. St Bradley was inaugurated as Bard, and now he's gone. Well, just about as Bard in any case, although once a Bard, always a Bard, remember. Just a few days left of his tenure, but on that topic, I do have some news to impart. There have been some changes to the bardic calendar, as it were, when it comes to the changeover. So the new dateline looks like this. Listen up. The entry deadline is now Sunday the 30th of August, 2026, of course. Interviews will be on the afternoon of Saturday the 12th of September at a venue to be confirmed in Douglas. And the inauguration of the new Bard will be on Sunday the 20th of September, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. St John's Methodist Church Hall, funnily enough, in St John's. You can email manxbard@gmail.com for an entry form and rules, or you can pick them up at Douglas City Library or see social media, the Bardic Facebook page. Details are there, and of course, if you haven't yet entered, still time.
Spend all your time waiting for that second chance.
The beautiful voice of singer and composer Anna Goldsmith, who sadly died last week. A great loss to the Manx music scene, loved by many, both professionally and in the world of music. She had been recording again recently after a relatively quiet period when it comes to performing. Christy DeHaven from Manx Radio, of course, a great friend of Anna's of many years standing.
Memories seep through my veins. Let me be.
I first met her when I worked at a recording studio in Douglas, Dan Productions, and some mutual friends of ours from a band called Gratis 3 brought her around to see us and said, you know, she's known for her classical talent, which she was. She was an extraordinary classical singer, operatic voice, but she'd started writing her own material, and would we consider doing an album with her? We heard her voice and immediately said yes. And so over years, myself, Dave Armstrong, Rob Cross and a whole bunch of us got together and worked with her, pulling together these fabulous songs she'd written as well. They were wonderful. We had a fabulous time with her. We went to Malta. We did the song festival with her in Malta and she won an award for that. We did album launches with her. We tried desperately hard to get her airplay on BBC stations. Not quite sure why that didn't happen. It never quite took off for it. It should have done because she was an extraordinary talent. But any musician on the Isle of Man was jealous of her talent because she was brilliant. And some of the tributes that came in, Davy Knowles, Christine Collister, we used to sing together with Christine quite a lot as well. Jack Walter from Penelope Isles, so many tributes came in for her.
And what do you think made her special?
Partly the voice, because hopefully you'll hear something shortly from her. It stood out. Her voice, the precision, because she managed to take the operatic vocal and turn it into something that was contemporary. So it was sort of unique in that respect. But also her personality, she lit up a room. I mean, we also had messages in from people she worked with. She worked in the Cabinet Office, she worked with DOI. She's actually responsible for the Dark Sky reclining benches. She worked on the homelessness strategy. But people that worked with her described her as lighting up a room. There was a lovely message in from someone who said she travelled with her own little cloud of joy. She was hilarious as well. We spent most of our time together laughing. And her laugh, everyone remembers her laugh because, quite frankly, it was filthy. But it was wonderful. She was just a glorious human being and we're all really fortunate to know her.
Sadly, I never really, I think I met her once or twice, but never really got to know her well. But you're absolutely right. You read the tributes and that's the thing that everyone says, how lovely she was, which, you know, sometimes when people have got a really big talent or a special talent, it doesn't necessarily go hand in hand that they're a lovely person with it as well. And yet she was both from all accounts, whether you knew her through her musical exploits or through professional work as well in the Cabinet Office. Everyone just says exactly as you say, she was just one of those people you wanted to be in a room with. Absolutely.
And she was inspiring as well. I mean, when you think, you know, Jack Walter, for instance, who has now got his own very successful career, he tours with CMAT, who's huge at the minute. He put a lovely post up saying that she was inspiring to everyone back then. You know, he was like 15, 16, I think, when we did bits of work with him, and Anna was around at the time, and he used to really look up to her. So she inspired a lot of musicians as well. But like I said, it wasn't just her musical talent, her daily work as well. She was fabulous. And I have to say, you know, a big shout out as well. I mean, her son, Robbie, I really feel for Robbie. He's a lovely, lovely guy. And, you know, she's a wonderful mother as well, and fiancée to Jane. James, and she's a real family person as well. So it will really hit the family hard, this, I'm sure.
And I think she'd been off the scene a little bit, but she was going to do more, hopefully. That was in the pipeline.
She'd actually been back in the studio, which is also quite heartbreaking. She'd been working back with the guys I mentioned from Gratis 3 that introduced us to Anna in the first place. It come full circle, really, because they're now in a group called Post-War Stories, an excellent group in their own right. And Anna had been back in the studio with them. She'd been collaborating with them on new music, which we do have some copies of. But also she'd started recording some of her own material again. And so, again, tragedy really that, we're not going to get to hear more of that. It does seem really unfair. But I have to say, one of the things that's come out of this past week is the love that everyone had for her. And it has actually been a really lovely exercise going back through history and just listening to, what a legacy she has left with her music. And hopefully it will bring that back into the spotlight now, if nothing else.
Absolutely. And as you say, it just goes to prove, doesn't it, that trying to get her onto the BBC, sometimes it's just luck whether you actually get out there or not. It's nothing to do with your talent, your ability or whatever. It's just a case of sometimes you're noticed and picked up and other times just sort of doesn't go that way for no real reason.
Well, that's the thing. I worked in the music industry for some years, and I think what you discovered is that not only is it an element of luck, it also just depends what is going on at that time. It depends what sort of act that the world is looking for at that time. It depends on what sort of music the world is looking for at that time. It can depend on so many different things. And, not least as well, it can often be a kind of financial thing, because back in the day you had to pay pluggers to have your music featured on the BBC, which just seems extraordinary. But that was what it was like back in the day. So there's all manner of things that do not in any way, shape or form reflect on your talent, because my goodness, she had it in bucket loads.
And there's still music, though, people can enjoy to remember her special character, her talent and, of course, her voice. Well,
definitely. And not least that, but if you think about it, if her career had taken off, I have no doubt she would have been an international star. She opened up for Katie Melua here at the Villa and people said she was better than Katie. She would have been huge. But then she wouldn't have met James, her fiancé. She wouldn't have had the career she had, making a difference on the Isle of Man. So there was all of that to think of as well. Maybe it just wasn't meant to be for Anna, because now we also have her music, but also you can recline in a bench, look at the stars and think of Anna Goldsmith.
Beautiful voice and beautiful person, will be sadly missed by all who knew her and of course her family and loved ones. Her recordings, no doubt, enjoyed forever. This is where we end up, however, for this week at least. See you next week. We'll be hearing about poetry in prison, among other joys. In the meantime, be good, whatever you're doing. Be creative about it. Himu.